Imagine waking up one day and realizing that everything you were taught about money was only part of the story. For Robert Kiyosaki, this realization began early, with two contrasting father figures shaping his understanding of wealth. On one side was his biological father, the poor dad, an educated, hardworking man who believed deeply in traditional values: study hard, get a good job, and save. On the other side stood the rich dad, his best friend Mike's father, a man with no college degree but an intuitive understanding of how wealth works. The clash of these two ideologies planted the seed for Rich Dad, Poor Dad, a groundbreaking book that challenges conventional wisdom about money and financial success. As a young boy, Kiyosaki was puzzled by the economic disparity he saw around him. Why were some people able to live comfortably, while others struggled paycheck to paycheck? Determined to get answers, he approached both his dads with the same question: how do I become rich? His poor dad's advice was straightforward: study hard, get good grades, and climb the corporate ladder. His rich dad, however, offered a different perspective. The rich don't work for money, they make money work for them. This single statement turned Kiyosaki's world upside down. What did it mean to make money work for you? And why did so few people seem to understand this concept? To teach Kiyosaki and Mike about the realities of money, Rich Dad devised an unconventional lesson. He offered them jobs at one of his convenience stores, paying them just 10 cents an hour. The boys, eager to learn, accepted. At first, the experience was exciting. They were earning their first paycheck. But soon, the novelty wore off. The boys felt frustrated, overworked, and underpaid. Kiyosaki's boiling point came when he saw other kids spending more freely than he could. He decided to confront Rich Dad. "This isn't fair," he argued. "You're not paying us enough." Rich Dad smiled, recognizing a teachable moment. "That's how most people feel about their jobs," he said. "They work hard, hoping for raises and promotions, but they never stop to ask, why am I working for money?" This was Rich Dad's first key lesson. The poor and middle class work for money. The rich make money work for them. Rich Dad's simple yet profound lesson stayed with Kiyosaki. The key to escaping the rat race wasn't about working harder for money. It was about acquiring financial intelligence. This wasn't something taught in schools. In fact, schools primarily focus on creating employees, not entrepreneurs. Rich Dad explained, "If you want to be wealthy, you must understand the language of money. The poor and middle class think in terms of income. The rich think in terms of assets and liabilities." Here's where Rich Dad introduced another crucial distinction. Many people think they're growing wealth by acquiring possessions, a new car, a bigger house. But these are often liabilities, not assets. An asset, Rich Dad explained, is something that puts money in your pocket, while a liability takes money out. Imagine this scenario. You save diligently and purchase a house. On paper, this feels like a solid investment, but if that house requires constant maintenance, mortgage payments, and property taxes, it's draining your income. Unless that property generates rental income or appreciates significantly in value, it's not a true asset. This was a stark contrast to the poor dad's approach. Poor Dad considered a house as the ultimate investment, the crowning achievement of financial success. But Rich Dad encouraged a shift in thinking. "Invest in assets," he said, "not liabilities disguised as assets." Financial education became the cornerstone of Kiyosaki's transformation. Rich Dad didn't just teach the boys concepts, he made them live and breathe them. He would challenge them to think critically about every financial decision. Should you save money in a bank where it loses value due to inflation, or invest it in something that grows? Should you rely on a single source of income or build multiple streams? Kiyosaki learned that financial literacy wasn't just about numbers, it was about mindset. For example, Rich Dad explained how taxes work. The poor and middle class often carry the heaviest tax burden because they earn their income as employees. Meanwhile, the wealthy, who own businesses and investments, understand how to legally minimize taxes through strategies like reinvesting profits or utilizing business expenses. Rich Dad believed that fear was one of the greatest barriers to wealth. "The fear of losing money," he told Kiyosaki, "is what stops most people from ever becoming rich." This fear drives people to seek security, a steady paycheck, a stable job, a retirement fund. But that security often comes at the cost of opportunity. Rich Dad often shared stories stories about individuals who hesitated to invest because of the risk involved. "What if I lose everything?" they'd ask. His response was always the same: "If you never try, you've already lost." To Rich Dad, failure wasn't the enemy, fear was. Kiyosaki learned that every successful entrepreneur and investor had faced failures. The difference wasn't in avoiding failure, it was in how they responded to it. Rich Dad encouraged him to take calculated risks, to learn from mistakes, and to see failure as a stepping stone rather than a dead end. For example, Kiyosaki and his friend were once tasked by Rich Dad with creating a business from scratch. They brainstormed ideas and eventually settled on creating a product to sell in their community. It didn't work out as planned. Their venture lost money, but instead of scolding them, Rich Dad praised their efforts. "Now," he said, "you've learned a lesson about the market. Failure is your greatest teacher." This lesson extended to investments. While Poor Dad would caution against putting money in anything too risky, Rich Dad would ask, "Have you done your homework? Have you studied the market? If you have, take the leap." A major theme in Rich Dad, Poor Dad is the growth mindset. Where Poor Dad would say, "I can't afford it," Rich Dad would ask, "How can I afford it?" This subtle shift in language sparks creativity and opens the mind to possibilities. By asking the right questions, Kiyosaki was encouraged to think outside the box. Instead of relying solely on his paycheck, he explored ways to build passive income. Investments in real estate, stocks, and businesses became tools for financial independence. Rich Dad's philosophy placed a strong emphasis on creating businesses as a pathway to financial freedom. He believed that owning a business provided more than just financial gain. It offered control, independence, and the ability to leverage systems and people to build wealth. One of the most striking contrasts between Rich Dad and Poor Dad was their views on work. Poor Dad encouraged stability and saw a steady job as the ultimate goal. In contrast, Rich Dad saw employment as a temporary phase. He used a powerful metaphor to describe the difference. When you work for someone else, you're building their dream, not yours. Rich Dad challenged Kiyosaki to think like a business owner, not an employee. He explained the concept of the cash flow quadrant, which divides income earners into 4 categories: employees, self-employed, business owners, and investors. Each category represented a mindset and a pathway to earning money. The ultimate goal, according to Rich Dad, was to transition from the left side of the quadrant, employees and self-employed, to the right side, business owners and investors. This shift wasn't just about money, it was about freedom. Rich Dad's advice was clear: start small, build a side hustle, learn the ropes of managing a business. Over time, those small ventures could grow into larger enterprises. Rich Dad emphasized that starting a business without financial education was like sailing without a compass. Kiyosaki recalled numerous lessons where Rich Dad would bring out spreadsheets, explain balance sheets, and discuss the importance of cash flow. Understanding numbers was crucial for making informed decisions. "Numbers tell a story," Rich Dad would say. "Learn to read that story, and you'll know the health of your business." As the story continued, Rich Dad introduced the art of investing, a skill that requires patience, foresight, and the ability to manage risk. He believed investing wasn't about luck or speculation, but about strategy and understanding the market. Rich Dad often said, "It's not about how much money you make, it's about how much money you keep." Kiyosaki learned that many people who earned high incomes were still stuck in a financial rat race because they didn't know how to make their money work for them. One of Rich Dad's key lessons was distinguishing between active income earned through labor and passive income generated from assets like investments, real estate, or businesses. He stressed that true wealth came from building streams of passive income that could sustain you indefinitely. Rich Dad explained that passive income allowed people to achieve financial freedom. It provided the ability to pursue dreams without worrying about day-to-day expenses. This principle became a cornerstone of Kiyosaki's philosophy. Rich Dad believed real estate was one of the most reliable ways to build wealth. He explained that property had intrinsic value, could generate rental income, and often appreciated over time. Kiyosaki recalled going on property tours with Rich Dad, learning how to spot undervalued properties and assess potential risks. "You don't wait to buy real estate," Rich Dad would say. "You buy real estate and wait." This perspective transformed Kiyosaki's mindset about investment investments. Rich Dad also highlighted the power of leveraging other people's money, using loans to acquire assets that generate income. While this approach came with risks, Kiyosaki saw it as a way to accelerate growth if used wisely. One of the most profound lessons Rich Dad taught was about fear, the fear of losing money, of failure, and of making mistakes. Most people let the fear of losing outweigh the excitement of winning, he would say. Kiyosaki observed how the traditional mindset leaned toward avoiding risk entirely. Many people clung to the idea of a secure job or savings in the bank, but Rich Dad saw this as a path to mediocrity. He explained that calculated risks were essential for achieving greatness. To overcome fear, Rich Dad encouraged Kiyosaki to see setbacks as opportunities to learn. Every failure is a lesson in disguise, he emphasized. Kiyosaki remembered how Rich Dad would deliberately expose him to challenging financial decisions, teaching him to analyze risks, think critically, and act boldly. Rich Dad introduced the idea of managing emotions in financial decisions. Fear and greed, he explained, often led people to make poor choices. Fear of losing money kept people trapped in low-risk, low-return investments, while unchecked greed pushed others into reckless ventures. The key, according to Rich Dad, was mastering these emotions and approaching investments with logic and strategy. Rich Dad stressed that understanding money wasn't about memorizing formulas, but about developing the ability to analyze opportunities. He often used the analogy of learning a new language. Money has its own language, he said, and if you want to succeed, you must become fluent. Kiyosaki realized that financial literacy was about more than just numbers. It was about understanding concepts like cash flow, liabilities, and how different investments worked. Rich Dad's lessons often revolved around simplifying complex ideas, making them accessible and actionable. As Kiyosaki grew older, the lessons from Rich Dad began to crystallize into actionable steps. One of the most powerful concepts was the idea of making money work for you instead of working for money. Rich Dad illustrated this by explaining the difference between employees and entrepreneurs. Employees work hard to make their bosses rich, he said. Entrepreneurs create systems that make money work for them. Kiyosaki vividly recalled watching his Rich Dad invest in real estate and small businesses, not just to earn income, but to generate assets that would continue to grow even when he wasn't actively working. Rich Dad taught him the importance of building assets that could fund his lifestyle, whether or not he was physically working. These assets could include rental properties, stocks, businesses, or intellectual property like books and patents. Kiyosaki learned to focus on acquiring income-generating assets and minimizing liabilities that drained resources, such as excessive loans or luxury purchases. Rich Dad also encouraged Kiyosaki to think creatively. Find ways to add value, he would say, whether through innovative ideas or identifying hidden opportunities. Kiyosaki began to see the financial world as a playground of possibilities. When Kiyosaki started his own ventures, he applied these principles with unwavering determination. He began investing in real estate, purchasing properties that provided steady cash flow. He also delved into stock trading, always using the foundational knowledge Rich Dad had given him to assess risks and rewards. But it wasn't just about making money. Rich Dad had instilled in him the importance of teaching others and sharing knowledge. By writing Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Kiyosaki aimed to empower others to break free from the paycheck-to-paycheck cycle and start building wealth. One of the most profound lessons from Rich Dad, Poor Dad is the necessity of adopting a new financial mindset. Rich Dad often emphasized, "Your mind is your greatest asset." For Kiyosaki, this meant unlearning the traditional beliefs instilled by Poor Dad and embracing an entrepreneurial and investor-focused way of thinking. Rich Dad believed that fear and doubt are the greatest barriers to financial success. Most people let the fear of losing money dictate their decisions, keeping them trapped in the rat race. "Don't be afraid to fail," he would often say. "Failure is part of learning." Rich Dad also taught that financial success requires constant education. Kiyosaki's journey involved not just formal schooling, but a commitment to self-education, attending seminars, reading financial books, and learning from successful mentors. This commitment to growth is a key message Kiyosaki shares with his readers. The journey to wealth begins with a shift in mindset. Kiyosaki recalls a time when the economy was struggling, and many people were panicking about the state of their investments. Rich Dad, however, saw the downturn as a time of opportunity. "When people are selling in fear, that's when you buy," he explained. This counterintuitive approach helped Kiyosaki navigate economic uncertainties and make strategic investments that paid off handsomely over time. He learned to see challenges not as setbacks, but as opportunities to grow, learn, and prosper. This lesson is particularly relevant today, as many people face financial difficulties or uncertainty. By adopting a proactive mindset and focusing on long-term strategies, anyone can start turning their challenges into opportunities. As the book draws to a close, Kiyosaki reflects on the profound lessons that transformed his life. The journey from financial illiteracy to financial independence is not an easy one, but it is a path worth taking. Rich Dad's wisdom paved the way for Kiyosaki to break free from the traditional mindset and create a life of financial freedom. One of the most enduring lessons from the book is the power of action. Rich Dad emphasized, "You can read all the books in the world about swimming, but until you jump in the water, you'll never learn." This principle applies to wealth building too. It's not enough to understand financial concepts. You have to act on them. Kiyosaki encourages readers to start small, but start immediately. Whether it's creating a budget, investing in a course on financial literacy, or simply exploring new streams of income, every small step brings you closer to financial independence. And now, it's time for you to take charge of your financial journey. If you want to dive deeper into the transformative lessons of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, check out the description below to get your copy on Amazon and a complimentary 30-day trial from Audible. If you found this video valuable, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more in-depth book summaries designed to inspire and educate. Share this video with someone who might need a nudge toward financial freedom. Remember, the road to financial independence begins with a single step. Make yours today. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next video.